Wetland regulation.
They like.
That was in the packet that was sent to you.
Yeah, mine will still come.
Mine would, yeah.
I'm waiting, my puppy keeps.
Oh,
grabbing
wonderful.
my engagement ring and I'm like, I'm on my diamond.
God bless,
on the
God
side
bless
door. This is back to the original one AJ had on the floor and I taped it on a piece of cardboard and wrote, "This is a real diamond, do not throw away," and put it in a drawer. And then when I lost another one,
Oh, thank you.
but I'm sure that's. Thank you.
And somebody did drop some of these off Shirley on Saturday, so we had them up at the library
Oh,
too.
nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Have the sponsors, but we're home days. It's really wonderful.
That's good. Mm.
Jay is on Sunday.
Yeah, Sunday, 2:00. I'll be there. Oh, God willing.
Otherwise, it'll be no
I know.
director chasing him up the hill.
What do you get for turnouts, Shirley? I've never done this before.
Pardon
What
me?
do you have any
I
idea?
think that it generally 15 to 20.
People will show up? Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, I would
If
say,
it's nice weather, people love those hikes.
Yes.
yeah.
That would be good too.
Maybe we get some early blueberries up.
So many ticks. You can just take
I
a
think
whole
you have to
masking
have
tape, you'll be
more
extra
people in.
popular.
I want to call the meeting to order of the
Okay.
July 6th, 2023 Enfield Conservation Commission. Please call your names out so that Ms. Banker can record them in the attendance section.
Jay Wellens, present.
Lee Davis present.
Shirley Green, present.
Gerald Tice present.
Kate Plumley Stewart.
Whitney Baker.
Okay, absent is Carolyn Wyman. Okay, so the next item on the agenda is to approve the minutes of the June 1st, 2023 meeting. Have you all had a chance to read these over and recommend any changes or corrections?
Well, good to me, sir.
Look, I found no errors.
Okay, that being the case, all in favor of approval of the minutes signify by saying aye. Opposed? Okay, so done. Old business, the report from Lee Davis on the Boy Scout project.
Yes. So I have been in communication with Joel, who's one of the scoutmasters, and, the end result was he could not make tonight's meeting, so he is coming in August. I will not be here in August. So. But I told him that, basically what we had talked about as far as, identifying trees and whatnot on, Bicknell Brook Trail, and he thought he was very receptive to that. And
Does he expect us to know what he wants to do or what you want him to do when he comes, since you're not going to be here?
I sent him a pretty good descriptive email, but I'll make sure that he does know. I have my daughter coming. I've got to pick her up at the airport, so I can't be here.
Okay, John, you got some comments on the educational project?
Sure. I'm working on the elementary school modules for a session, I think it's November 27th through the 22nd of December. So it's going to be 4 weeks. There'll be 4 classes. So, well, I haven't got anything to hand out, but by next meeting, I should have it typed up and be able to hand out something. I have a few questions for Kristen in regards to the timing of the classes and, the locations and stuff. But I'm assuming we can, get out and walk to places like Hughes Park, and that's one of my locations, and another one. So my first one is going to be animal tracks, and we're going to go down to Hughes Park. By then, there's going to be some access, so a couple of streams they access towards the river, so there'll be some places to collect some good tracks, and we're going to just work on skills, tracking, observing, measuring, and identifying tracks. We'll take some, I'll have my camera, I'll take some pictures, we'll analyze them, and we'll try to identify. And that should pretty much take up the whole class. Week 2 is going to be Go Nuts for Squirrels. Over at the village school, there's a stand, there's some really big oaks right there. So that looks like a good place to get some squirrel activity. And this one is developing skills of investigating, experimenting, predicting, describing, and recording. And what we're gonna do is gonna take different types of food, and we're gonna place them on a big sheet of cardboard, and we're gonna observe if we get any activity, then that day, that'll be great. We'll kind of back away and hide. If we don't, we'll come back, and I'll come back the next day and I'll take pictures and record. And then, of what the squirrels ate, what they prefer and what they didn't prefer. That's week 2. Week 3, is gonna be start out with a follow-up on if I have to take pictures and bring back, stuff, and then we'll have a follow-up on the squirrel exercise. And then we're gonna kind of shoot to be a bite detective. We're gonna go back to that same spot and collect nuts, collect acorns, because I'm sure there's gonna be a lot of them there. And we're gonna look at the bites and look for evidence of either red squirrel, gray squirrel, chipmunk, see what's eating the squirrels, because they eat nuts differently. So and then that's gonna develop observing, sleuthing, comparing, labeling, and identifying type skills. And the last session is just gonna be a scavenger hunt. And we're gonna go to Hughes Park, and we're just gonna look for traces of mammals. Observing, collecting, recording, labeling, identifying, looking for chewed up nuts, looking for tracks, looking for hiding places of burrows, things that might interest a mammal in terms of food or, something that might attract them. Evidence of feeding, evidence of communication, and poop. So that's gonna be basically what I'm putting together for the 4-week class. And so what I'd like to do, hopefully, is just have this, once I get it done, have it typed up and outlined, a list of things you need, so that it's something that we can put in a box and do whenever we want to do it, okay? This will be so that's my goal. There's gonna be a few tools I'm gonna need to buy, and we have the budget to buy a few journals. I was gonna buy some inexpensive journals for the kids and some pencils, so the kids can write. I was gonna get a few magnifying glasses, and probably some Ziploc bags and stuff like that. That'll be part of the kit. Nothing really expensive.
We'll put together a list. so
Yeah,
that
well,
We can.
yeah.
vote.
I probably have access to pencils and
Okay.
notebooks, as a donation,
Okay,
because it goes through the school, so Friends of Mascoma could
Sure.
potentially give those to you.
yeah, sure. So I'll put together a list. I have a nice tracking journal. I own it. Probably need to buy one at some point to put in there, to have it, a nice journal, not a journal, a book. This one here I've owned for a while, but maybe I could try to find a book that I can, or maybe I can just donate this book. I don't know. We'll see how it goes.
Probably find one online.
Yeah, I could probably find that. This is really good. I mean, it's a great book. It covers all mammals and birds, and there's a lot of pictures of tracks, and it's got a good explanation. I actually got it when I did the ELF class many years ago for my kid, and went pretty well. So yeah, I'll put together a list for that. So that's basically where I am right now.
So you're gonna do all 4 of them?
Yeah, it's 4 weeks. I don't mind doing all 4. I mean, once I
No,
get
I
into it.
understand that. I had put something together using the wetlands and fireflies, but
Yeah.
I can do that some other time.
So yeah, I think, that could be another one. We
Well,
can,
it was only 4 weeks.
well, we have to come up with one for the spring too.
Oh, all right.
Okay, so they have an enrichment program in the spring and this one in the fall.
And this is for the high school.
No, this is for grade school kids.
Now, how many classes are gonna be involved?
I don't know how many kids. Keith, do you know how many kids they have in this enrichment program at all?
It's by sign up, so it varies. It's whoever signs up, and I don't know, do they limit it at all?
I did not.
I have
recall
never-
seeing anything about.
I'll ask
Yeah.
Kristen. I got a couple questions for her, so I'll just.
They
I'll
always
reach
look
out.
like they have a nice crowd, like good classrooms worth when I see the pictures, but I haven't been there because
Okay.
we have too many allergy shots.
Are you going to put something together for the high school?
That's what you're doing, right? You have,
Yeah, I had a talk, but I haven't gone to the high school people itself, but if we're gonna do it in the spring,
well, I think the high school, we haven't firmed up any times yet. I mean, they're not back in session again till the fall,
yeah.
and it would be part of, Jen Fitzgerald's, environmental science class.
Okay, I'll go and contact her in the fall then.
Yeah, I get the contact, so.
I only have one lecture that I want to give, but
Yeah.
I want to pass out copies of the Conservation Commission's inventory.
Yeah. And that's all part of the role of the conservation. That was like, in the outline for A and B, the role of the Conservation Commission in a land ethic presentation. You signed up for those two. And Lee, you were interested in protecting the water presentation.
Yes, the wetlands, yes, yes. And what I've done with that, Dr. Tice, is I've contacted DES. There, a gentleman named Eddie, who was very enthusiastic, and he's going to send me visual aids for my presentation. He was gonna send me an email of all that's available, and then I was gonna choose, and he was gonna send them to me. I haven't received them yet, but I'm still hoping.
So you're planning for the high school to get.
I can do whatever. I thought it was, whether it's
Yeah, I
gonna,
haven't got a middle school contact yet, but if you looked at my outline, I put together a list, about 10 different items that we could do for the high school. So I think goal would be just to chip away at them a little at a time. I'd like to do some of the high school ones too. We got pollution and, organized conservation, wildlife sighting and mapping, creating a pollinator garden, managing a young forest, and all of them, it's in there. I mean, you pick out anything that interests you, or other ones, Jerry, if you got ideas too. I mean, this was just an
Well, I
outline.
only have the one that I wanted to
Yeah,
point out, because the literature that I'm getting from the DES is that fireflies are disappearing in New Hampshire because of the wetland disappearance.
yeah, they had a big,
So-
article in the paper about fireflies and, I didn't know they were beetles and just their whole life
a bunch
cycle.
of species of them, yeah,
Yeah, there's like
many.
many, and I was just amazed that, I think that's a great topic.
I've had
So-
so many fireflies in my house recently.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah,
I've never.
there you go.
They've been in my yard, but they
Isn't
haven't got
it
in my
funny?
house
Must
yet.
be something attracting them, because I haven't seen any outside, like.
I haven't seen
Right,
any.
exactly.
It used to be, you could
They're
look
all-
out on the lawn and just see them and.
Yeah, because the kids used to love to see them,
Yeah, yeah.
and you don't see them anymore, just like the bats.
Yeah.
We used to have
I have
bats.
a bat at the house,
Yeah.
in a bat house.
Oh, I've had bats in my house.
We used to, but we don't see them anymore.
So, Jerry, just backing up a second. So, yeah, I mean, you got something done, so we'll just keep chipping away. This will be a project that can just be ongoing.
Yes.
And I think, as long as we have the contact with the school, as we make the modules, we can let them know that we have something, we'd like to present it. And they can let us know when they have a spot for us.
Yeah, the most important thing is the depth of the content. The high school people can be much more attentive and read things
Yeah.
that the grade school or the elementary school
Yeah.
can't. So as long as we pitch our presentations to the level of the students.
Absolutely.
Recommend, okay.
That's why I'm doing, mine are gonna be out in the field, walking, looking, seeing,
That's
observing,
Mm,
teaching them the
Active.
journal.
Have you seen to how many monitors you're gonna have for a whole class to take them out of the classroom?
Well, those are questions I gotta ask. I gotta find out how many kids are gonna be in this.
All right.
And then I got a few other questions, so I'll clarify that. And I'll write up my outlines. I should have that completed to be able to pass out to get to Rob for the next meeting, okay?
Sure. Mr.
you.
Sanborn,
Hello,
would you please come to the table here? I've got some of the materials that I have been collecting from the town.
where is the easiest place to be? So
Oh, you can sit right
You
here.
can sit with me.
Fine.
I don't think. All right.
Make yourself at home.
So these are the copies that I was given that are relevant to the town's requirements for volunteers and so forth.
Thank you.
And I'm going to ask Mrs. Stewart to tell me exactly what the procedures are to go before the Board of Selectmen with Mr. Sanborn's request to become a drill master and get that approved.
You would,
Exactly.
you would talk to Ed and get on the calendar and he would tell you the process. So I think that's something that if you haven't had a conversation with
I
him,
had a conversation with him, but he didn't cover that.
yeah. So if you want to go before the select board, yeah, they do the agenda for us. And
Okay,
so they take, if there's any requirements or onboarding, I don't know if it needs to be advertised. I'm not familiar what the requirements are, but if it's a volunteer role, I assume you can go before the select board and we'll fit you in onto the agenda.
okay.
And I'll try to we have some strategy work, so we maybe try to pull you just ahead of that, so you don't have to sit through a long, not that you weren't welcome at the strategy session, but it's always nice to not have to.
I didn't.
We'll see where this form came from.
Yeah,
Single day volunteer sign in. The language is very familiar. That's okay.
Need a volunteer. It was I read them on my Kindle.
all right,
Oh,
so the next step then is to go to the town manager and get us on the Board of Selectmen's agenda for,
Yep, and you should probably give him like a written proposal of what you want to do, an outline of the tasks, right? Because like just at like any kind of job position, you just need a small blurb explaining what the
well,
expectation.
I've already given that.
Okay, if you've already given that to him, then he could just relay it in with the packet to us.
Will you want to attend that meeting with the town manager?
I think it would be a real good idea if I was invited to that. Yes, sir.
Okay, I'll make what days are you most available?
Weeknights more than weekends. Certainly.
Yeah, our meetings are on Mondays, so the next one,
No, I'm not talking about the Board of Selectmen. I'm talking about going to the town manager.
oh, the time.
Oh, well, that's different. He is around during normal business hours,
He
right?
is
But
out
he's
of
out of
town.
Employee, not, the formal meeting there.
He's out of town to the 15th, isn't he?
Yes, yeah,
So,
So you're not available in the daytime.
oh, but I am. Don't forget, I'm retired.
Great, good. So,
I've escaped
so tell me the days, any day of the week, then you would be available.
with sufficient advance notice, yes.
You want
A
a
few
week's
days.
notice, 2 weeks notice?
he might be out in the woods.
No more than a week.
Okay, and any particular time?
Well, mornings tends to work better for me.
All right. I will try and make an appointment then for, to see Mr. Morris, on the morning, weekday, and a couple of weeks from now.
Yeah, my
Or either
suggestion
one
would
week is
be,
enough for my personal.
he won't be back. So my suggestion would be when he'll be back in the office the 17th, so you'll need a.
No, okay, no worries.
Yeah.
I mean.
And, you can
this is
CC
basically a
Elisa. and
All
see if
year
she has
project
any
to get it
ideas.
started anyway, so,
All right, very good.
thank you.
So my question is that I volunteered to go to the farmer's market and just sort of introduce being a volunteer. So I should wait until this has all been finalized with the town manager.
I think you'll have the best luck in August too, don't you think? The reason I say that is August is decent weather, let's hope. But also it's when there's more items at the market because of harvest.
Yep.
So I think you'd get a better crowd.
Yeah.
Cause I'm just thinking, I want you to get a lot of FaceTime with people.
Mhm.
All right, the next items are under new business. And I received notices that the shoreland permits do not go to the conservation commissions for review. So anything about the Dartmouth shoreland permit application is not in our purvey to evaluate or review. So we don't have to worry about that. The DES has taken it under their wing to handle that. The clerk sends the Conservation Commission a notification, but there's no requirement or necessity for us to make a review. Okay, the wetland review changes. The major change that has been made in the wetland reviews is that the line that used to be on the permit that specifies that once they signed this or submitted this permit, they gave permission to the Conservation Commission to come on their property and evaluate the size and so forth of the wetland. That requirement has been removed by the legislature. So the Conservation Commission will have to seek permission from the landowner to come onto their property. And the only thing that we can do if the landowner refuses to give us permission is to notify the DES that that is the case and we cannot make any comments. Okay. Okay. So we've got you got in your packets a review of the trail maintenance volunteer questionnaire. Do any of you have any suggestions for altering that or making any additions to it.
That was in the packet that was sent by email?
Yes.
Okay, I didn't bring it with me. Hmm.
I've got mine right here.
Do you?
Yes.
Well, I'm good with it. I read it.
Mr. Sanborn, I gave you a copy of it, right?
Yeah, you did at some point.
Uh,
Is there by any chance a spare copy of it I could refer to here now?
I thought I just handed them to you. Those, all those things
Oh,
about.
general volunteer information? Okay.
I think I took yours. You never know.
So they'd be getting that one. It's all the, okay, consent form, the single day, and so this volunteer info is the one that they'd be seeing.
The town wants the people who volunteer from Enfield to sign that day volunteer thing.
Mm-hmm.
So that. the
Everybody who
insurance companies
volunteers
and so on
does.
knows who's there. But you have your own for the Cardigan Mountain.
For the Cardigan Highlanders, yes,
Yeah.
we have that, but I must emphasize that that one applies only when you're working on state lands.
Right.
So, if we were working on a town trail, then the
That's
one
why
that you just handed us is the only one that we would use for that time.
Okay. For both people who will, with the Cardigan,
Highlanders.
Highlander Mountain group, as well as the people from Enfield?
If we are working on an Enfield Town Trail, then this is the only one that we would have to sign.
All right, great. And will you have copies of those, or do I need to provide you with copies in
No, I can.
someplace?
I can make copies.
Okay, very good.
Yep, and it is our custom to, just use the, form until the spaces or names are filled in, and then we go to a fresh form.
Okay,
We always have them sign such that they are able to have all of the blurbs upstairs.
are you gonna keep those, or do you want the Conservation Commission to have a folder that they somehow will get? You can leave.
I think that it is my duty to, collect the signatures for each workday, and when the form is filled, the workday is over or whatever, at the end of the day, that this has to go to the commission. It's
Okay.
not my job to keep that. I don't
Right,
think.
okay. So, the best thing to do then is to put that form in the town office mailbox where the, Enfield Conservation Commission has its own box.
Very good.
Right.
Yep, and I think what I'm gonna do, when I make copies, is going to be, I'm gonna put this second sheet on the back of the first one, so they're both on one piece of paper.
Yeah, okay, that's great.
Keep it too. Yeah, I see no reason at all why this can't work. You have reviewed the, language of the paragraphs above, and you adapted it to the town. And I assume that if, someone that it needs to be run by a town retained attorney, that's again part of, your department, their department. And if you're handing this to me, I'm gonna assume that it is, vetted and approved and okay use. If the facts change, then the commission here has naturally the duty and authority to tell me so. And I'll stop using this. Fair is fair, I think.
Okay,
And what I was told, by the town office, because I submitted the photos I took of, the scans I made of the copy from you, they wanted to have one uniform volunteer form across the town, so that was really helpful because we're gonna use it for anything that has a
All
single.
kinds of
Yeah,
activities.
so it will be, it's a really great, so that was a
In
good
other
contribution
words,
from the.
You
committee
have
to that.
So there is one.
you have a box up there, a summary of volunteer activity, and whatever entity in the town they're volunteering with
Yep.
gets to put the name and date of that.
Yep, yeah. So which is, I think it's a, you know, it's a nice contribution from this to other committees.
Well, it definitely brings them into the world of being concerned about liability and having volunteers, signify their awareness and acceptance of the terms.
It's also awesome to just be able to look back and see who helped you last time when you can't remember.
No kidding.
No offense to anybody, but sometimes I'm like, who was there? So I think we'll love it.
Believe me, I make a lot of use of that.
Now, like the Conservation Commission, like Old Home Days, Kate, would, the Conservation Commission members who partake in that need to do the volunteer?
I don't know about that. You could definitely check in and ask Elisa. She might know on, because I'm sure she probably did the form. My thought is, because you're going in your committee, like in your official capacity, you already hold town office.
Yeah.
So my thought is that you probably wouldn't need to, but if you brought in some folks from around town who wanted to chip in, maybe they would be appropriate.
But only if they were volunteering to help,
To help.
we wouldn't need to.
Yeah, yeah.
People who are just going on the hike.
Right, exactly. No, I wouldn't think so. And is the hike state land?
I mean,
Is it state land?
Well, Pond, I don't know.
I would,
Yeah, it is.
Actually, yes.
yeah, so, and there's very specific laws about hurting yourself on state land. Basically, like, help yourself and buy yourself a little trail card.
Okay.
Yeah, this
You have to be
is,
toted out.
this is called an assumed risk law.
Yes.
And it's gradually been expanded by the legislature from the ski areas, which was the original genesis of it. Possible problem, maybe a solution, and it's been expanded to other activities. And now we have this assumption of risk law that covers just about everything you might be doing. Certainly covers liability on the part of the owning entity.
Okay, everybody's got their 2 cents in on that?
I have a 5-cent piece put in.
Good.
When I go to
Take
the
that.
farmer's market to, give information out, is there any possibility that Craig could be there for a short period of time to prompt me along when people start asking questions? I just want.
I think that it might be,
It's on a weekend, so you're probably busy.
I am,
Okay,
let
that's
me
fine.
say this. I think that if you're gonna raise volunteers to work on the trails and so on, it doesn't hurt to have about a 1-paragraph description of what it is that you do.
Okay,
And I can
oh, thank you,
most likely supply that,
thank you.
even just from out of the notes that I gave to this commission last time we met.
That would be so
problems.
helpful so that I could be
Give me
there.
a paragraph.
Yep, that's perfect.
I can do it.
Thank you,
What is your name again, please? So
Lee Davis.
Lee Davis, okay. Then I can direct it to the right person.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Anybody else? Okay, moving on, I've got a homework assignment for all of you. I attended all 6 of the wetland discussions presented by the New Hampshire Association of Conservation Commissions over the last few months. And as a result of that, I have collected some information which I have now duplicated and expect you to read and understand. The responsibility of the Conservation Commission is to review an application for wetlands and determine that the application has been completely filled out and all the information that is necessary is there. So the first thing is the wetland permit application type, time frame, Conservation Commission's responsibilities. That's the first group of materials that are stapled together. You've got, did anybody not get one of those? Because I realized I had 2 here stuck together.
Which one is it?
Starts out on the left-hand side, wetland permit application type.
Oh, yeah, I got it. Got it.
the same one.
Got it.
Yes.
All right, so I want you to read that material over and understand
I don't-
what, our responsibilities are. The second thing that is there is the required project plans for a standard wetland permit. These are the things that the Conservation Commission is supposed to examine the permit for and make sure that the individual who's applying for the permit has filled in all of those pieces of information. One of the things that the DES has reported is the failure of applicants to fill in the forms completely. So they have to then delay and communicate with them to do otherwise. I put all these in front of you. You don't have to look at the stuff that was sent to you.
I just think,
Okay, so those are the things I want you to read over and come to an understanding of what we need to do when we get a wetland permit to review. Even though we may not be able to go onto the property, we have that responsibility. The blue covered manual is the Wetlands Best Management Practice Techniques, and this is a delineation of all of the different problems associated with building, constructions, doing anything on wetlands, and how the DES evaluates those particular projects with regard to best management practices and alternate opportunities. These are the criteria that was used in evaluating the property there on George Hill and why the DES turned the application down initially. Now, the last thing is something that I want you to use as a review. The regulations are that when a person is applying to put a dock on their property, they only need to initially for the first dock to submit a dock by notification or application by or permit by notification, in which case the Conservation Commission has relatively little to say about that. On the other hand, when they want to put a second dock on their property, then they have to submit a dredge and fill permit to the Wetland Bureau. And this is the copy that they sent us. Because once the clerk signs this particular application permit, we have 14 days to decide whether or not we wish to intervene. Now, even though this is not a wetland permit and it's not a dredge and fill permit, it's a permit to put in a dock. All of the questions that would normally be put into a wetland permit are there. So I want you to see what the standard procedure would be and realize that this particular application is just for a second dock, and the outline of that dock or the plan for that dock's installation complies with all the regulations that the town of Enfield has. The dock sizes are related to the size of the lake and the depth of the lake. So you can put a larger dock on Mascoma Lake than you can on Crystal Lake. This dock is going to be 128 feet long and 6 feet wide. The diagram for that is on that material that I sent you. So this brings up something that I want to get settled once and for all.
thank you.
It's attachment 4, by the way, is the project dock drawing showing the dimensions. The ramp leading up to the dock is 4 feet wide and 8 feet long. The docks themselves are 10 feet, each of them are 10 feet long and 6 feet wide. And that is permissible on Mascoma Lake. So there's really nothing that the Conservation Commission has to opinion on this because they are all within the regulations. But we have 14 days to say something to the Conservation Commission. Either one, we do not intend to intervene, or two, we do intend to intervene. And if we miss that 14-day deadline, we are out of luck saying anything. So what I propose is that one of the members of this commission be voted on to be assigned the responsibility of deciding whether or not to intervene in a dredge and fill or wetland permit application. They don't have to sign it. They don't have to do anything except send a notice to the DES that we intend to intervene. But we only meet once a month. And these applications come in the middle of the month. We are out of luck if we wait till the next month. So do I have a motion to recommend someone to do that?
I don't feel comfortable with having one person unilaterally make a decision for everybody because you're one person and not the commission. I think that you could have Rob forward it, and if anybody has a concern, they could raise their hand to you and to Rob. And at that point, you could say we intend, and then you could schedule a meeting. That way, people would have a vehicle to still tell you. And then you would be able to schedule the meeting and do the actual work, because you could schedule an emergency meeting if you do need to intervene. And I think you should, without making it one person.
Okay, so is it the general opinion that this commission does not want to set one person responsible for filing the intent to intervene?
Yeah,
You want to
like it
meet,
should be one person.
Yeah.
wait a
I
minute,
agree.
let me finish.
Okay.
That you are all prepared to come to a special meeting anytime there is a necessity to make that decision. And that we will have, as a result of that, a quorum.
I think if it's serious enough, we should commit to being here.
I prefer that. I wouldn't
Yeah.
want to make the decision on my own.
Right, I agree.
Yeah,
Well, just a moment. I mean, I don't mind doing this one way or the other, but my point is that you learn, you read and understand these regulations, and you look at the application and see that all of the information is there and none of it is in contradiction to the regulations. And you know this particular material because you can look it up. You can make an intelligent decision as to whether or not it's worthwhile for the Conservation Commission to intervene. Now, intervening does not mean anything, except that the DES then holds off the awarding of the permit until they receive, within 40 days, the Conservation Commission's evaluation. Now, if you want to meet whenever that comes up with a special meeting to decide about to intervene, and then you want to meet again to approve whatever recommendations whoever writes it up has made, that's fine with me. I don't care. But I want to be sure that you're all prepared to come here. Probably more than once a month as a result of that. And have a quorum so we can fulfill our responsibility.
Well, I think we should be prepared to do that.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
if you send out the materials, everyone reviews them and no one finds anything wrong, then you won't have to be having an extra meeting anyways. So I think it goes both ways. And if there's a reason to have a meeting, then we should be willing to do it.
Now, these dredge and fill permits are not just single things. Is the town prepared to send out, photocopy and send out 25 or 30 pages to every single member of
If
the
you
Conservation
feel
Commission?
like you have to do it in the mail and that's the only way, I mean, it's environmentally terrible, but I would rather.
I'm
get my
talking about email.
Oh, email, that's like, you feed it through, the button goes whoop, and you just hit
Because
send.
that's what Rob has been doing with the
Yeah.
material for this thing.
And we have a person in the front office who can do it. I mean, scanning is fast.
All right.
It's not like it used to be where you had to.
Okay, so that's the way we'll handle it. Anytime a dredge and fill permit comes to the town hall, I'll pick it up. And I will then take it to Rob and he will send it out to every single one of you. You will review it and you will let me know whether or not you wish to intervene. If
That's,
one,
our only response is yes or no?
yes,
Okay.
if one of you
Or
wants,
is that, make a meeting, we can just respond?
No, you just respond only to Robin, to Jerry.
And just, okay.
Yeah,
Just
not
the-
at all.
and then if that is, one person decides they want to intervene, then I will call a special meeting and we will all come and look at this to vote.
Mhm.
Okay, Ms. Banker, have you got all that jargon into your notes?
Yeah.
All right, very good.
You're so good at this.
Okay, so, the next, item on the agenda is the intent to cut. Oh, yeah, right, intent to cut, map 5, lot 2. Did any of you bring your?
Yep.
Map, so you can tell where?
Absolutely.
I got mine here. So map 5, lot 2 is on Bog Road. This is owned by Lila Welch. It's a 48.9 acre piece of property. And she intends to anyway, somebody got that intent to cut thing on their agenda or in their,
Should be.
Yeah.
I have it.
Do you need off of it, just the,
well, I want to let them know if they haven't read it, as to what the amount of lumber she wants to cut off of there. It's the total lumber and logs and
It's
quite a bit.
I'm like, I'm still scrolling.
I have it up, I can read it. It's 100 board feet of white pine, 20 board feet of hemlock, 30 board feet of spruce and fir, 8 of hard maple, 4 of white birch,
those are 1,000 feet. not-
1,000, so, yeah, sorry, where am I? 5 of yellow birch, 8 of oak, 6 of ash, 2 of soft maple, 6 of,
Beach pallets,
That's-
tile, mat logs, so that's gonna be used for making pallets.
340 of hardwood and aspen tons, and then 1,000 tons of biomass chips.
That's all pulp.
Right, those are pulps.
That is it.
Okay, so again, the Conservation Commission has no authority to intervene. These things are filled out entirely by the person for tax purposes for the town. So that's it. Lila Welch uses that property primarily as a great place to practice her skeet shooting. She used to be a competitive skeet shooter, and so she uses that for that purpose
Oh,
to practice.
that's the same one who owns
Gun
the
shop.
gun shop in Lebanon.
Uh-huh.
Oh, all right.
Mhm.
Now it all falls into place.
Point of information, so, would it be the case that, this is the intent to cut going up there and they could already have started cutting?
Let me see here. It gives a starting date.
June 1st.
Yeah, the starting date is right. So she's going to cut, the lot is 51 acres and the harvesting will be over 45 acres of that.
Mm-hmm.
So, June 1 is the anticipated start date. I haven't, I border her property in part, and I haven't heard anything being cut there. But it really is, one of the things that people don't remember or don't think about is that cutting timber off of land actually increases the diversity of wildlife because it opens up territory for other kinds of shrubs and brush to grow on. So the idea of harvesting timber is not detrimental to wildlife. It actually benefits the diversity of wildlife for a time because the climax vegetation here is a mixed hardwood and deciduous, deciduous and coniferous forests. And when they come up to a size, they will completely block out the sun. The canopy is so cozy. Nothing grows underneath that. That means that rabbits and ground nesting birds and a wide variety of other animals that rely upon that type of vegetation for survival, for cover and so on, are denied that property. So the Fish and Game Department actually goes out and cuts opening areas, does collected cuts for that very purpose. And I've done that on my property, and I think that's one of the things that Lila Welch will be beneficial in doing for her property in that regard.
It's been a while that anyone's cut a good swatch up there too, so it started to grow in on the side.
Yes, and that's the same with Art Conkey's property. He cleared a large percentage of that land that he intended to do his gravel mining on, which I'm told now he has not pursued. And that will open up a large area again for diversity of wildlife.
My neighbors, I always was like, oh, they're gonna cut all those trees. Oh, it's gonna be a disaster, cause I didn't understand, but they cut, the little cabin, and I was like, oh my God, and now this spring and the summer, I see all this beautiful stuff coming up.
Yeah.
It's beautiful, the grass, the ferns are back,
And you
yeah.
can have the bear from down.
You were never too old to learn that.
My neighbor,
That's here comes the bear.
a friend of mine had
Like
come up
years.
to Seeley's farm.
Yeah.
And she was packing her car. She was from New York. She was putting her stuff in and she looked up and the bear was looking through the passenger side window.
The bear is the bear family is very happy right now. They've been wandering that neighborhood. So.
Yeah.
Cause they like those.
Have you seen any with orange tags in their ears?
No, but Spectacle Pond has had, quite a few, they've got cubs and our neighbor across sees them on her security camera. They don't come in on my lot because they're a little.
Well, the reason I asked about the orange tags is there is a bear rehabilitation
Yeah.
center in
Yeah, we have
Lime,
Ben.
Oh, yeah.
and they turned loose 127 bears
Yeah.
that they have returned to the wildlife. These were yearling bears, not more than about 80 pounds,
Yeah.
but all of them had an orange tag in their ear. And unfortunately, the newspaper who announced this release did not specify where they were going to be released.
Mhm.
So I've had people on Bog Road calling me, showing me pictures of adult bears wandering down the road and saying that these are bears that have been released by this group. which is
Probably not this
true.
year. Maybe another year. He does a nice job. It's a very nice job.
Imagine that many.
Mm.
Yeah, yes.
Well, they obviously haven't all been released in the same spot. They have.
No, but I mean,
separated
imagine he
out.
had that many at one time.
Because everybody who finds one
Yeah.
brings it to him because he's the expert. He does good work.
Okay, the other thing you received, I think, is a copy of the current use board. Now, this is a board that is in the state. They actually determine the amount of property tax reductions that people in New Hampshire can use when they put their property into current use. So these are the names of the people that are on there, and the number of years that they have to serve. Some of them apparently are lifetime members, but that's under terms not applicable.
At the end.
Norm Bernish, who's the assessing officer for the town of Enfield and probably others, is on that list as well.
Did you notice the dates though? I was wondering, I mean, it has a 2021 end date, which I thought was,
Yeah, he may have either got reappointed or he may have turned out and left. There is one vacancy as well.
I don't know if we got that list.
Hmm?
it's
Well,
the
you won't
very
have-
last page of the
You
packet.
won't have it
Last
because you
page
didn't bring your thing.
I've been flipping mine around, so,
Okay,
of the big packet, I bet.
yeah, this is the big, but I've been messing it around, so.
so that's for your edification. And maybe some of you might want to volunteer to be on that committee because in my estimation, the only thing that has saved the property in New Hampshire from development is the ability to put it into current use and reduce your property tax as a result. Otherwise, the property taxes would drive people to necessarily develop it or sell it. That's my personal opinion. I got some interesting thing here from the New Hampshire Magazine called The Power of Presence. And I don't know whether any of you take the New Hampshire Magazine or not, but what they have indicated here that there are a large number of representatives, both Democrat and Republican, who are not showing up to vote on bills. So therefore, they're not making their representations known.
That's not good.
Here's the thing, all 192 Democrats who showed up that day voted for it. In the Republican-led chamber, only 134 Republicans voted for it, while 63 did not. And the point is that that's not what they're talking about. They're talking about who shows up and who doesn't show up. First, yeah. In the House, there's 200, the 400 members House is 200 to 197 with 3 vacancies in Republican majority. And those people, of those people, a fair percentage of them are not showing up to do their job in terms of voting when bills come up. And I think that is something that the taxpayers in this state should raise hell about personally.
To be honest, that's not new at all.
I know it's
a
not new.
long term. They get $100 a year to do it. It's $200 for a 2-year term. And a lot of times people take those roles so that somebody else doesn't get it. And it turns into party politics instead of representing. So like we've been very lucky for a while to have somebody who went to, like, I think did miss a session. Right. And that's very uncommon. But when you're choosing someone, you want someone who's going to go. I think Enfield's done a good job picking someone who goes.
So David Frack is running for representation for Enfield, and or actually for, I guess it's District 2.
So that's where the Democrat is.
I don't know what policy, what party he belongs to, but he is also the chair of the planning board.
David is, I think only the Democrats put forth a candidate this time. So I think it's more important to represent all of Enfield than to be a party person with these small state items. So I think David has, if you see him in planning board, is very fair. And if you want a chance to meet him, if you haven't met him and talk to him, the one thing I can tell you about David is that he shows up to meetings and he leads them. So that's, if you're concerned about having someone present to represent Enfield, that's something to take into consideration, because he has a good track record for us in terms
Is
of.
there going to be a candidate tonight that we can meet?
I mean, there's one candidate that I know of, so typically, I think Beaufait and a few folks that he's friends with have hosted. It's not a town function, we just provide this space, so that is a good question, and maybe the Democratic folks will do it. I think they've invited people to go see him.
This is the replacement for Josh.
Yeah, Atchison, who was injured.
Okay, the last thing is a communication that I received from the town manager. A fellow by the name of Sayer Wickham, who is the land steward with the Upper Valley Land Trust, is planning to walk the Bicknell Forest property in the next 2 weeks. And the town manager has asked me if a member of the Conservation Commission would like to accompany Mr. Sayer in that walk.
The purpose of the walk, you know? That's Upper Valley Land Trust land, isn't it?
Yes, he's the land steward for
He's
the
the
Upper
steward.
Valley Land
Okay.
Trust. So what he's looking for, I suspect, is how the land is
Right.
is doing and what, if anything, needs to be considered to help it along.
Or if
And of course,
anything's,
there's a trail along there that is
There is.
in bad shape, that is part of it.
Yes, I have gone into a certain amount of detail in my observations,
Right.
and it will be possible to say that the commission has found a Mobutu service trail master who has reported on its condition, and they are making plans and setting up procedures to add the appropriate and needed fixtures, bridges, etc. If that's what it takes.
Sounds good.
Yep.
So I am going to notify Mr. Sayer that I would like to join him in that walk. Does anybody else want to come along?
Do you know the date of it yet?
No, he's saying he plans to do this walk in the next 2 weeks. And I'm monitoring other conservation lands nearby. Please let me know if anyone would like to join me and we can try to coordinate a day that works.
yeah, you can email me.
Yeah,
I
let us
might, if
know.
if I'm free, I'll try to join in. I like that. I like walking that land.
I think if you end up with 3, then you need to post it as a meeting because you have a quorum, which isn't a problem. You just post it, you call the meeting to order, and your minutes are, we went for a walk because there's no, with so-and-so, because there's no official business. So it's pretty, someone volunteers to write down the start and end time and makes it easy. Or you can take Whitney.
The problem that I see here is that we've got to indicate to him what days those that are going to come to.
Oh,
walk
I
are
thought he was
available.
gonna choose a date. Oh, okay.
He said we
Well,
can
why
try
don't
to
you-
coordinate a day.
Why don't you and Jay then talk to, if it's convenient, I'll let you know. If
Well-
not, but I wouldn't want any,
I'm not free in the morning, so it'd have to be in the afternoons.
Well, I really don't want to have more than one go. Because
Okay.
that complicates the situation as far as it goes.
oh, so if you're the one then,
You know, if
you
Jay,
mean one in addition to you?
if Jay can go in the afternoon, then he'll go.
Yeah.
We don't need half a dozen people trips along.
Yeah, I'll go.
Because,
It's gonna be like 2:30, okay?
all right, so I will write and tell him that we have a member from the Conservation Commission who wants to go at 2:30 or is available to go at 2:30 PM.
Any day of the week, Monday through
Any
Friday.
day, okay.
Yeah.
And I'll get him an indication of where you're to meet. They may want to meet up there at the Bickdale, Brook area.
Boys Camp or Grafton Pond
Well,
Road.
that's it. I mean, he could decide to go all the way from Grafton Pond clear down to Crystal Lake, the whole Bicknell Brook
That's fine.
thing. So, all right, I will get a hold of him and he's left his email here and then I'll let you know what he's decided.
Yep, sounds good.
Then what I'd like you to do is just bring a report back of
Yeah.
what he's done and what he's talked about and what the Upper Valley Land Trust is doing with this kind of information.
I think I almost got into that role with them. They were looking for stewards, people that just check the land, to make sure that, you know, things aren't going wrong, people aren't encroaching on it, cutting wood, and everything is copacetic. They're following the orders of the easement. So, yeah,
Does anyone have any other business they wish to bring?
Just have, one thing, you had asked about submissions and I had committed to putting in the trail maintenance volunteer questionnaire. So if you read your July town newsletter, we have our Conservation Commission section that is in there. And then also you had sent around the photo contest. And that is in there as well, so.
I forgot to notice, there's a hike in there for Old Home Days, I didn't think. Notice that.
There's a big thing on the history of Old Home Days. Let's see,
Not under Conservation Commission law.
not under conservation that I see.
Thanks for the pen. Nice pen.
Oh,
It's
you're
a
welcome.
beautiful pen.
Yes.
You can pass this around. And this was put together by a member of the Board of Directors of the New Hampshire Association of Conservation Commissions.
I saw that. Yeah, that was,
Yes,
And you'll see that the majority of donors that are, majority of conservation commissions who receive a portion of the current use change tax are well in the southern portion of New Hampshire. Those in the gray areas, which are all up in the northern part of New Hampshire, don't even have a conservation commission.
Wow.
A lot of them are uninhabited and or very low on the population scale too.
Well, the point is that if you don't start protecting territory before it's too late, and that's what's happened down here. I have members
So a
of
lot of it is
on the New Hampshire Association of Conservation Commissions, and they point out that there's very little wildlife left in Manchester and Nashua and Concord. So
Interesting.
you'll notice that Enfield
Springfield
This is.
doesn't have any
and Grantham
contribution
to
to
the
it either.
hunters.
So these are things to think about with regard to supporting conservation commissions. Now, the other thing that's interesting is that Grafton gets 100% of their current use.
That's amazing.
They get $0
Well, all the-
of their budget.
They don't have any budget, but the point is that if we were to cease having our budget and just rely upon current use percentage, even 10%, would double our budget.
All the communities around us certainly are.
I think it'd be interesting to see the two maps side by side, who budgets and who doesn't.
yeah.
For a
that's
total.
comparative. Yeah, that gives you a complete picture.
I'd be afraid to.
Because it's a gamble. You don't know who's gonna put their year over year current use
Yeah.
money in.
Interesting.
So I will get in touch with Joel, the scoutmaster, and make sure if I may have to bring my grandson if I come. And, so,
He can come up to the farm.
oh, he'd love it. And,
How old is he?
9.
Same age as Chloe.
Yeah.
Does anybody else want to see that map?
I'm good. I've looked at it.
Yeah, I got it.
That's-
Where did you find it?
It was on the.
Yeah.
That sent.
Yeah, wasn't it in the packet?
I saw it somewhere.
I saw it somewhere.
Maybe I did send it to there, but this is
Did you
a
wanna see
larger
it?
version, and I think the coloration is changed, but it doesn't matter. Everybody's seen it. Okay,
Yeah, I'm saying we've seen.
Yeah.
motion to adjourn.
I'll
We should
second it.
check to see what the budgets are from the other towns.
It's been moved and seconded to adjourn the meeting. All in favor?
I.
Aye.
All right.
Opposed? So ordered, adjourned. Remember, in August, we're gonna go over all that homework and I want you to be sure that you understand those kind of things, and we're gonna talk about what we have in the way of responsibility for reviewing wetlands.
No quiz.
Yeah, that's right.
No
No quizzes.
No quizzes. No
We'll
pop test.
we'll give it our best. Terry.
I'll tell you what I just said to Woody earlier. You can't make volunteers do anything at the end of the day. I work with them every day.